you don't see too often on Weekly 50, an armadillo. In fact, this is probably the first armadillo I've ever had here on Weekly 50, and it was kind of interesting to shoot this photo. It all started with a walk out to Lake Carl Blackwell. My wife and I have been taking our kids there as just something fun to do during the pandemic, and I think we're going to continue doing it. It's a pretty awesome place west of town here in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and when we went out there, I don't know, it was probably early January. It was a pretty nice day, maybe in the 50s, and we went out with our kids and we just go on some of the trails and walk for a while and see what happens, and mostly it's just nice to be out in nature. Well, along the trail, it's pretty common to see armadillos, and if you don't have them in your state or wherever you live, they're pretty neat little creatures. They're actually kind of a nuisance around here in cities because they tear up people's yards, but out in nature, they're just kind of fun to see, and they just sort of wander around, rooting around for grub worms, and they don't have really good eyesight, so they don't always see you coming, but when they do notice you, they kind of hop away. I don't know, they're just kind of neat. We saw a couple armadillos while we were out on this walk, and I took a few pictures of some of them, but didn't really get a great shot. And I had my D500 with my 70 to 200 millimeter lens, which is not a great zoom lens for wildlife photography. You have to be pretty close, even on a crop sensor camera like the D500. So I didn't think I would get any award-winning wildlife shots or anything. By the end of the walk, it was maybe 2 hours that we'd been there. We were on our way back, and we saw kind of this open patch of grass, and here was this armadillo that you see here, kind of just out in the open. And it was really cool because he didn't notice us, and so I kind of walked over and took a few pictures, and then walked over and took a few pictures. I didn't want to scare the poor guy, but I wanted to see if I could get close enough to take a picture. And I took a few, and my kids were kind of behind me, and they're creeping close as well. And then this little armadillo pokes his head up and then kind of scampers off maybe 5 or 10 feet and then goes back to his business. And I kind of follow, and I really didn't want to scare him. And I don't think I did. I think at no point was this guy actually scared of me. But I kept on creeping closer and closer. And at one point, he kind of stopped, and he sat up like this. And I don't remember if I used the live view on my camera to get this shot. I positioned my camera really close to the ground, so maybe I just crouched down low. I honestly don't remember. But I fired off several shots. I just sort of jammed the shutter and hoped for one to turn out. In the end, I think I came back with over 100 pictures, and this one shot turned out exactly how I had hoped it would. I wanted to catch the armadillo doing something interesting. And you can see here, he's kind of up on his hind legs, and there's that tiny little speck of light in his eye, and that makes the whole photo. And there's a couple others where you don't have that little speck, and it just seems dull and lifeless by comparison. That tiny little reflection of sunlight makes all the difference in this photo. There's other things I could have done probably to get a better photo, used a longer lens or who knows what, but in the end, I was really happy with this particular photo. And since then, we've gone on more walks at Carl Blackwell, and I haven't been able to replicate this type of scene exactly. So it was really cool to be able to do this, and I hope to continue bringing that camera and that lens out on these walks to see what wildlife I can find.